And we're off on another off-season edition of Patriots Central Radio. I'm Matt LePan. Joining me tonight, Brian Phillips, the new crew here on Patriots Central Radio, our first show post-Evan era. Brian, welcome to officially being a co-host on Patriots Central Radio.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Happy to do it. Let's get down to it, huh?
Yeah, and we're going to start tonight with a little bit of breaking news. Semi-breaking news came out today, first reported by Adam Schefter. Former Jets linebacker David Harris is a Patriot. That's right, the man you hated because he was so good in the middle of that Jets defense is now in the middle of the Patriots defense. Signed a 2-year deal worth about $2.5 million. Incentives can bump that up, but 1.5 guaranteed, about 1.75. In incentives, Brian, quick reaction here. What's your first thoughts on the deal when you saw it?
Well, I mean, I will toot my own horn here. I was something I was calling for back in February when I was going through some veteran. Yeah, oh yeah. when I was looking around the league at some potential veteran cuts. I mean, we knew it was going to be a complete, dumpster fire, salary shedding situation in New York. And Bill's had nothing but great things to say about David Harris throughout the years. And, can you imagine a coach? I don't know if there is one out there who's seen more tape on David Harris than Bill Belichick. It seemed like almost too good of a fit. I also looked at him when we were putting together a piece a couple months ago with potentially Dante Hightower not coming back, pieces to plug in. But I love the deal. I'm interested to see how it's set up with his $1.25 million guaranteed, if that's up front. Hopefully it is, so it's it's kind of a pay-as-you-go type of deal. But yeah, right in Bill's wheelhouse. The one thing I wanted to pick your brain about is where do you see him fitting as far as scheme and early down? Do you see him on third downs? I mean, what are you thinking?
Well, I think that he's Dante Hightower insurance. Dante Hightower, we all know he has knee problems. He has shoulder problems. He has problems finishing the season. David Harris is in his 10th year. He's not a full-time player at this point. He's going to be a guy who can step in on first down, second down. If you're asking him to cover, you're in trouble because David Harris can't cover anymore. He's not the player he once was in coverage. And I think that he's, what a Landon Roberts was last year, that guy there, but he could play on first and second down, dominate. Well, now you have a guy who can actually call up the defense, let Hightower do his thing. And really where I love this move, you can bring him in, say on a third and short, medium yards, call it 3rd and 5. Move Dante Hightower up to rush the passer, have him in the middle calling out the defense, calling signals, where it's kind of a run down anyways. You can have him coming forward, Hightower off the edge. It builds on probably the weakest position, that being linebacker depth.
This is where we're going to disagree because I've seen a lot of this today with the early down deal. I mean, we'll do we're basically a PFF sub podcast here, but his PFF coverage rating last year was 25th in the league. We're talking ahead of guys like Alec Ogletree, Telvin Smith, Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, guys that are respected in coverage. For as old as he is, it's easy to automatically think it's an early down run thumping type of guy like a Landon Roberts' kind of role. But I think we might even be able to get a little more out of him on third down, where you're looking at him. I'm not so quick to put Kyle Van Noy in that role, and we'll talk about it obviously more later. But I think it's even better. I think the addition of David Harris is even better than anticipated. I think he's going to be able to give a little more in coverage, and he's going to allow Dante Hightower to free up to rush the passer a little more, which we know is something he excels at. You can put him in that Sam role in the big nickel package. I'm head over heels about it.
Oh, I love the move. When he was cut, that was the first thing I said. I said this is the ideal fit. He wants to win. He's a smart, heady veteran. Bill Belichick talks about David Harris almost as glowingly as he talks about Ed Reed. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think back to the Football Life documentary where you have Brady and Belichick in a room, essentially, stroking their egos, if we will, about Ed Reed. And Bill Belichick goes to the podium and speaks like that about David Harris. Harris is smart. He's still athletic. You're right. He's not a complete dead spot in coverage. I would prefer Kyle Van Noy in coverage because, if it comes down to Harris, Van Noy, or Roberts, I'm taking Van Noy because he's the most athletic of the group. I think that, those first 2 downs, a lot of teams are passing on those first 2 downs, but they're short passes. He's going to cover the middle of the field. He's going to be a guy, if you go base nickel and you want to go heavy nickel, you can't get much heavier in the middle in terms of 2 linebackers than Hightower and Harris. They're going to come forward. They're going to bring the thump, but they can take a couple steps back, let the ball get caught in front of them. They're sure tacklers. I think that's one of the more underrated thoughts on this is when you go base defense now, you have 2 middle linebackers, 2 defensive signal callers on the field.
Yeah, and even in goal line situations, when you're looking to bring in even another big guy that can run downhill and diagnose, I don't know. They're putting together those pieces, and again, we'll look at it once we get into the depth chart here. But they're putting in so many different kinds of pieces, and there's so many things they can do that really our arguments right now are who is in what package and who fits what package better than other packages. It's an absolute embarrassment of riches right now. It's awesome.
Well, Brian, you bring that up. I'm going to go to a comment that we got earlier today, a comment on post from Patriots Central Radio Facebook page. Everybody go follow Patriots Central Radio. And it's from Harry Talk, who just so happens to be my uncle. He says, I know the Pats playing kind of a hybrid defense with Swiss Army knife players, but will the addition of Harris mean we see more 4-3 formations? So, I got to say, it's a good question, regardless of if it was my uncle or not. Do you think this means more 4-3, or do you think the Patriots stay in this base nickel they've been running?
I know you and I have talked about this before, and where it doesn't really matter, if you call it a 4-3 or a 3-4, or because they've got those floating players, and you really don't know, what is Ninkovich going to do when he's on that strong side? Is his hand down? Is it technically 4-3? I do think we'll see a lot more of that nickel, but again, where I was looking at the David Harris coverage aspect, I think he can still stay on the field and be that guy with Dante Hightower coming down as that kind of edge rusher. I think David Harris has the potential to be able to be the guy that stays on the field and keep that big nickel package. So I think we'll see more of that. I believe it was somewhere around, 70, 75% of the snaps last year were in that big nickel formation. So I don't see that changing with David Harris coming into town.
I completely agree. I think that Harris allows you to stay in that base nickel defense that Bill Belichick likes to run. And like you said, it provides some different options. We brought up Dante Hightower can go up. You can now have Hightower, Harris, and say Kyle Van Noy on the field to match up with teams that maybe have heavy packages with running backs. There are some teams that have very good running backs. Teams like Pittsburgh come to mind. You need to cover that running back. You need linebackers that can get out there and that can cover. If you have Hightower on the line, Van Noy there, and then you have Harris to kind of patrol the middle, you can do a lot of different things with this defense. You're not one-dimensional, and that's the effort that Bill Belichick puts in every single week. He wants to be a multi-dimensional defense. This allows that to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really, like I said, I'm interested to also see along the goal line when you look at all the big guys they brought in on the interior, like Lawrence Guy, they brought back Branch. You've got Malcolm Brown and Vince Valentine, and you've got Roberts, Hightower, Harris. Good luck in short yardage situations. So, it's just the Patriots never cease to amaze me with the amount of things they can do with their personnel packages.
Well, you talk about all this personnel, and what we're going to do now, we're going to bring in producer Brian Harrington. So 2 Brians here. And what we're going to bring Brian in for is we're going to go through the roster here. We're going to break down our differences and what we think the depth chart is going to look like this year. Brian, welcome onto the show.
Hey, long-time listener, first-time caller. We are.
Glad to have you here. What do you think of the Celtics moves this week?
The Celtics moves. I think if their third pick was going to be their first pick, like Danny Ainge was saying, I think it's a good move. But if it's him just blowing smoke, then it's unfortunate.
All right, let's get into the roster here.
Not even a response for my excellent Celtics coverage. We're live on Facebook Live right now. I am monitoring. Not only am I moderating this, I am monitoring the Facebook Live chat. So anyone has any questions, comment below on Facebook Live. New England Patriots, 5 times champions, coming into the offseason with a lot of pressure to repeat. There are 31 other teams out there trying to get better, trying to do what the Patriots are doing, and there's a target on their back. Let's talk about the depth chart. Let's talk about any surprises that may appear in the depth chart. We're going to start on the defensive side of the board here. The cornerback position. There's a familiar name I see at the right cornerback spot, potentially, Stephon Gilmore, formerly of the Buffalo Bills. I thought he was a horrible first-round draft pick, to be honest with you guys. Personally, I thought Clowney being on that side of the ball helped a lot for the quarterbacks to rush their throw, and Stephon Gilmore looked pretty good. I felt that way since day one. Let's talk about the quarterback position. It seems like that position on the right side is pretty much like locked in, Matt LePan. I would like your comments on the right side of the cornerback position for the Patriots defense.
I think that Stephon Gilmore is the guy who's going to have a lot of pressure on him. Gilmore comes in. The Patriots never make that big first 15 minutes of free agency splash move. The last time they did it was Adelius Thomas, and that, we'll call it 50-50. He had a good start, and it was a very ugly finish, his era here. I think Gilmore, what he benefits from is having a guy like Malcolm Butler across from him. Spoiler alert where I'm going next. But he has a good player across from him and what should be a halfway decent pass rush. So he's, the Patriots probably are going to leave him on an island more often than not. He's not going to be that Logan Ryan player where they put the safety over the top. But the Patriots defense is built to help their corners. Gilmore has his shortcomings, yes. I was never the biggest fan of making him the highest paid defender that you've ever had. I wasn't. I'll be honest with it. I think he's a very good number 2. He's a number 1. The question is, are you asking him to be a 1? Are you having Butler be the 1? But I think he's entrenched there. I mean, you gave him the money. He's there no matter what.
You were surprised at the signing, clearly. You never mentioned him as a potential need in free agency. True or false, Matt LePan?
I didn't think that cornerback was a definite need. A number 1 wasn't a definite need. I think that you need to replace the role that Logan Ryan had, and they went above and beyond that. So, no, I didn't expect it. It was surprising, and, the Patriots continue to rape and pillage the AFC East.
Thank you for saying that. From my perspective, we knew as Bills fans, that he wasn't going to resign. We knew he wanted a lot more than what we were willing to give. No one saw the Patriots involved, Brian. What are your thoughts on just that's the fact that Stephon Gilmore came out of the blue, came out of nowhere? You can't find one reporter. You can't find anybody who predicted this until it happened. How much of a surprise was it for you, Brian Phillips?
Oh, I was floored. Logan Ryan is like my son. I miss him so much.
You look alike.
I just when the news came down, it was a matter of, the Patriots clearly were flush with cap space. They had the ability to go out and sign and make one of these big splash moves. And when it happened, the other corners on the market, you're looking at guys like, A.J. Boye got a similar deal, almost exactly the same money too. But really, with one really, really stellar year of play, Bill with, 4 years of film on a guy that he's seen twice a year in the division. If he wanted to go out and get a big-time guy, and, the guy was there, Stephon Gilmore. If he was going to spend that money on somebody, it was going to be Gilmore over Boye, but and he wasn't going to give that kind of money to Logan Ryan either. But it was a surprise. Do I see him cemented on the right side? No, I see them doing the same things they always do, and kind of and going matchup based and playing a lot of man this year. So that will go in week by week.
Matt LePan, your cornerbacks opening day depth chart are, and why are they?
You have Stephon Gilmore playing the right, Malcolm Butler playing the left, and you have Jonathan Jones playing in the slot. I think that Jones proved that he can be trusted. The Patriots went to him in the Super Bowl in the slot, and I think that he's gotten a lot of run there. during minicamp, during OTAs, he's kind of solidified himself as that guy. Another guy who wasn't expected to do much, played great on special teams. Bill Belichick elevates him. He has a chance to be there, and I think that he has the size, the speed, and the versatility to do it. And if you want to count as a fourth corner, kind of your starter, Eric Rowe is going to be a matchup guy. So if there's a big receiver on the other team, bump Malcolm Butler down to the slot, put in Eric Rowe against that big guy, put back Devin McCourty over the top.
Brian Phillips, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm right with you. We have the same depth chart there. I think you're carrying one more corner than I am, actually. But, again, the right, left, I don't really get too caught up in. It's going to be just based on their matchups primarily. But I see Malcolm Butler, with the arrival of Gilmore, I see Malcolm Butler playing a lot more slot this year. A lot of, when you look at these teams like, the Falcons, and you've got a guy like Taylor Gabriel going to the slot, or if you look at a team like, even like San Diego will be coming into town. Travis Benjamin going to the slot a lot. I could see Stephon Gilmore going more on a Keenan Allen with that Malcolm Butler going on a Travis Benjamin, that type of deal. But yeah, Eric Rowe is the wild card. I love the guy's play. He's physical. But again, like you said, Matt, he's a matchup guy. You want to get him in press coverage. I even like him on tight ends. I think you can see him on like a Kobe Fleener in week 2 against New Orleans, stuff like that. So excited. Jonathan Jones, exciting too. And then we'll see about Cyrus Jones down the stretch if he can, crack the 46-man active lineup each week. He'll have a long way to go.
I have him on the team. I don't think he cracks the game day roster as often as people would like him to. I think you're going to see...
Or not like him to, yeah.
Well, true, yeah. Let's be fair. I've been probably the first person to criticize him. I haven't had the take of you baby him and coddle him, put him in the corner. I think that he's handled himself pretty well this preseason so far. He's gone out there, he's handled punts, and he's played a little bit defense. It hasn't been great, but he's building, and that's why I think he still makes this team, because he's working hard. That's all Bill Belichick wants to see.
Well, it's draft capital, too. You've invested in draft capital. So it's kind of that same deal. The Patriots have been known to get rid of guys early. They have no problem cutting, Dominic Easley. Obviously, that was a different situation. Obviously, much worse locker room guy. But a guy like Janelle Grissom was cut and then brought back. He was a third-rounder. But guys like Jordan Richards, second-rounder, Cyrus Jones might be in that same mold where they're keeping him on because of draft capital and see what he can add on. He deserves a second year, obviously. It's way too early to talk about cutting.
Those who are watching our YouTube live feed and our Facebook live feed are getting an exclusive look at Brian Phillips' live depth chart right now. We're viewing the defensive side. So we're letting a lot of cats out of the bag right now as everyone on Facebook Live is getting to view the depth chart of the century. Great job, Brian Phillips, on doing that. I think that was an awesome coup. Let's talk about the safety position. Patrick Chung is getting up there in age. He's been there for a while. The Brian Phillips, I want to get your depth chart on the safety side, free safety, strong safety, and Brian and Matt, I want you to counterpoint if there's any differences at all.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, obviously Devin McCourty, team leader, and then Duron Harmon got that big contract, not big, but a nice team-friendly, player-friendly, mutual deal done in the offseason to bring him back and be that third guy, that over-the-top presence and that big nickel package we're talking so much about. Patrick Chung is getting up there. I have Jordan Richards making this roster as of today. I don't want him to be on the roster because of his production, but the fact of the matter is he does provide a special teams presence. And they were talking about it on PFW yesterday that they still, even in passing camps and OTAs and mini camps, still put him deep instead of putting him up in the box. He's a stout guy. He built much like a Patrick Chung. You'd think he'd play more box, but they're dead set on seeing him back there. Right now, because of special teams prowess, I've got him making my roster, but he's on thin ice. He has been. The guy just flat out hasn't produced anything on the defensive side of the ball, but it's more of the same, the usual cast of characters there for my safeties. What do you think, Matt?
Get Jordan Richards off my roster. There's no chance he makes it this year. So we mentioned Patrick Chung. Brian Harrington, our producer, brought him up. Chung actually had his incentives bumped up. He can make almost double what he was making now. He can make 2.75 this year as opposed to 1.75. So a full $1 million more. He's a lock. McCourty's a lock. Harmon's a lock. We talked about Harmon early in this preseason when he got extended. Those three guys are in. Nate Ebner's a lock to me for special teams, technically a safety. And if you want that extra safety special teams player, it's not Jordan Richards to me, it's Brandon King. King has been a core 4 special teamer. He's played on all 4 units the past 2 years. And I don't see the Patriots going away from him, short of another David Harris type of sign.
No, I agree with you. And I've kind of got my depth chart kind of factored a little different. I don't include Slater, Ebner, and King in my positions just because they're those core guys. But because of today's transaction where they brought on David Harris, I had to cut another guy from the special teams. So we can't get rid of all the special teams guys. So I had to keep Jordan Richards on strictly for a special teams body. But yeah, Brandon King's awesome. And Nate Ebner, did he make the Pro Bowl last year? God, I cannot remember. He should have, if he didn't.
Should have. I think he was an alternate, but he didn't make it.
Right, and he missed out on an incentive for that. And speaking of incentives, Patrick Chung's incentives that you brought up, $1.7 million. Those are actually considered likely to be earned for you cat nerds out there because of all the snaps he played last year. He played like 97% of snaps last year. So it's considered, it's already counting against the cap. So that money is already being spent. If he doesn't reach any of those incentives, he'll get a kickback next year on next year's adjusted cap. But fun facts.
Can we talk about the big boys in the middle now?
This is where I live.
I know Panda's excited about talking about the big boys in the middle.
The 300-pounders.
I will be offended, Matt, if probably one of the best porn star names ever, Vincent Valentine, isn't on your depth chart. I'm very.
Big Vinny V's on my roster.
I
thought he was tremendous last year.
There's no reason to play football with that name. I mean, he could retire at 32. Make some serious money with that name, Vincent Valentine. It doesn't get better than that. All right, big boys in the middle, Matt LePan. We got to pass it to the Panda. What do we got for your interior, exterior, and all that, the fun stuff? The big boys in the middle. What do you got?
So this was a pretty cut and dry group to me. There are 4 guys, and there's really no competition for it. Alan Branch, Malcolm Brown, Vincent Valentine, Lawrence Guy. The first 3 were all great last year. The Patriots' interior line goes really underrated when you talk about that Super Bowl run. Alan Branch was a monster last year. And if you're ever at a game, watching from up above, watching from the press box, watch if you're at a game, and if you can see it on TV, watch after a PAT. Alan Branch is on the PAT team and after field goals. He has the best high-five routine with Ryan Allen, Steven Gostkowski, and Joe Cardona. It's hysterical. He's become a leader on this team. He's obviously the guy. Lawrence Guy was a really underrated signing. I think he was tremendous in Baltimore. Going to bring a lot of third down punch. Really, I think this group is one of the strongest. They're not going to make the flashy plays, but this is one of the strongest groups on the entire team.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see Lawrence Guy come in. He's a casualty for Baltimore's cap, signing Tony Jefferson and pumping all that money into Brandon Williams. He was kind of the guy that was left out over there in Baltimore. So bringing a guy like him in, and I know, Matt, you've talked about his prowess on third downs. You could potentially see him as that anchor guy we saw. And again, big nickel all show today. That was Branch last year. That big anchor with the smaller, quicker guys around him. We'll see if it's Lawrence Guy this year, but I'm excited to see him. We've got the same 4 interior guys: Branch, Brown, Valentine, and Guy. For those looking on YouTube and Facebook Live, I've got Trey Flowers listed as an interior. I've kind of got it set up in the gaps the way I've got it written out, just because Trey Flowers he plays all over the line. We all know that, but he kicks inside so frequently. You can bring on that weak side. You can bring Coney Ely, that Coney Ely, Derek Rivers type guy on the other side. While you've got Trey Flowers inside. It's the only reason he's labeled on the interior. But yeah, the 4 core guys were right on par.
So you would bump Flowers inside over a guy like Ely, who's got more size and a little more power, where Flowers kind of has that more explosive first step?
Well, I think we saw it last year. Trey Flowers, I believe, of his 7 sacks. John Ledger for Scout.com covers the Steelers, has this contextualized sack production stat that he does. He goes through every sack in the NFL and breaks it down on film.
This is great.
Yeah, the guy's awesome. And I believe 4, maybe 5 of his sacks were high quality sacks where he beat a guy and made a play that he wasn't supposed to make, and like 2/3, I believe, of those sacks were from the interior, playing over the guard. But we saw him in the Super Bowl play literally 5 different positions on the defensive line. I think if you've got a guy like Ely and Rivers on the outside like that are, Ely's obviously more used to playing, coming off the edge, and you've got a guy like Flowers who's so disruptive. It's almost that guy that they wanted out of Dominique Easley and Anthony Johnson when he made the team last year for a hot minute. That smaller interior guy.
You know what he is? He's what they wanted Chandler Jones to be. Remember when they wanted Chandler Jones to put on weight, they moved him down to a 5 technique and a 3-4 alignment? Trey Flowers is what they wanted Chandler Jones to turn out being. Obviously, Chandler Jones more productive on the outside, better player on the outside. But I get what you're saying. I just think that you look at a guy like Lawrence Guy on the inside is going to be taking over more of that role. There wasn't that guy, that 4th guy last year, so Flowers kind of had to do it. It was out of necessity.
Right.
This year you have more depth in the middle. I don't think you'll have to bump him in as much. On 3rd downs, definitely. I mean, if you can go on 3rd down with Lawrence Guy and Trey Flowers in the middle, I mean, not a lot of interior lines are going to be able to stop that.
What about Woodrow Hamilton?
He's
the president.
So close for
He
me.
sounds like a president. You guys have a porn star and a president on the same depth chart, back to back, literally. You have no idea how lucky you guys are. You're not going to have the president on your roster this year?
Salute him on the practice squad.
Practice squad eligible. I wouldn't be surprised if he got scooped up by somebody though. He put a lot of tape out there last year.
Kyle Williams is on his last year with the Bills, so
I love Kyle Williams.
it's on his last year with the Bills. So, all right, linebacker position, Brian Phillips. What do you think about the linebacker position, and where do you think your direction's going?
I know we're not gonna see eye to eye on this one. I've got 4 making the roster right now. That's with David Harris coming in today. He moves right into lock status for me, obviously behind Dante Hightower, alongside Dante Hightower. I've got Kyle Van Noy and Landon Roberts rounding out my linebacking core. With Pat Chung playing so much linebacker in the box, I just don't see the need to keep a guy like Shea McClellan, who I think David Harris cost. The David Harris acquisition cost Shea McClellan his job today, in my opinion. The guy played 35% of snaps last year at a $3.3 million cap hit. Goodbye. It's a 2.2 and change cap savings this year. You save 2.6 or 2.7 somewhere along those lines next year. Sorry, Shea, but you gone.
4 linebackers just isn't enough. You have a guy who's consistently had injury problems. You have a guy going into his 11th year, and you have a guy in Landon Roberts who, he showed some flashes last year, but is he a stone cold lock to be as good as he was in those short performances, or do we see him get exposed like he did in the Super Bowl? I think the Patriots and Bill Belichick know the importance of that linebacker role. I have 5 on there. I wrote down 6, but clearly I can't count. I have Hightower, Harris, Landon Roberts, Van Noy, and I know you hate it, but Patriots Nation agrees with me thanks to our Twitter poll that we ran this week. Harvey Longy's on this roster.
That's unanimously won too. He kicked ass.
Yep, so I'm looking at it
Harvey
right now. For those that don't know, we put up the Twitter poll this week for the first time. We'll do this every week now, but it was which undrafted has the best chance of making the Patriots roster. Harvey Longy had 76% of the vote. Austin Carr with 15, none. Brian's pick with 7%, and other with 2. And I know that there's the Andy Hart thought out there that David Jones is going to make the roster. I don't have him on, obviously, but yeah, they have to have more linebacker depth. They don't have guys they can consistently rely on to be healthy.
Right, but see, this is where we're when you get down to 53, you've got to make the sacrifices somewhere. I know you've got 6 corners because I believe you have Justin Coleman making the roster too, don't you?
Yeah.
You got 6 corners and 5 linebackers. Now we're talking about a lot of guys on defense now. You know, last year that we thought they were going to be thin at linebacker too. Why aren't they bringing in another guy to go with Jamie Collins and Dante Hightower? What's Jonathan Freeney doing starting on defense here? And obviously he wasn't very good. And then they got rid of Jamie Collins. And then it was like, oh my God, well, what are we going to do? Okay, Shea McClellan's got to come off the edge. Hilarious. And fill in. But this is where that extra layer of depth to practice squads, that's where the depth will come for me. I think you've got a guy like Trevor Bates you can stash on there. Harvey Lange, you cut Harvey Lange, he goes to Philadelphia or he goes to San Diego, somebody else will pick him up, and you will never see him again.
He's not going to move Grugier Hill. He's a guy who can actually make a roster in the NFL. Everybody remembers Grugier Hill. He was a fan favorite last year in training camp.
Exactly.
And they tried to do what you're saying to do with Harvey Lange. Bring him.
You're not even going to stash Harvey Lange. You're just going to cut him, and another team is going to pick him up, and he's going to be bad for them. And that's what's going to happen. The guy, he's too overhyped. And this is what we do. We overhype guys.
He's not playing on on defense. He's a special teamer who's going to grow into the role. Bill Belichick clearly wanted him. Called him before the draft was over. Said, we're going to give you money. They gave him the most money of any undrafted free agent in the NFL this year. He's making the most money of any undrafted free agent. Bill Belichick, obviously now everybody goes to it on why Lange will make the roster. You would have been a first-round pick. He's not that. But he's a solid enough player that he's going to make this roster. And what you might see with him, he might get the Foxborough flu.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. He's got that. He's got that hammy.
Oh no, your ankle! You hurt your ankle in the 4th preseason game. Shucks, IR.
Listen, Cameron Wake was a walk-on, wasn't he?
Yeah,
CFL. I mean, these guys are all over the place, but they don't get this much attention this early.
So did Aaron Maybin, and look what happened to him.
I want the guy that comes into camp and starts kicking ass and taking names. Give me any of the UDFAs. I want Max Rich comes out of nowhere and nobody can get past the guy on the tackle spot. Next thing you know, you've got a tackle controversy.
Let's do a spoiler alert on the Twins. Do any of you two have the Twins making the official roster, or
both Twins or a Twin?
Both Twins.
No, God no.
They're gonna break the Twins up?
Yes.
You don't break up the Olsen twins. What are you breaking up the Twins?
You're keeping them together on their way out of town. They're both getting cut.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, they're sticking together.
Matt LePan, why are you being a homewrecker, like trying to break the Twins up? You don't break the Olsen twins up, do you?
No, but if you want, you can put Cody on the practice squad. He didn't even deserve to be on a roster. He wasn't good in college.
No, the Patriots got Chris Gronkowski, was it, after the Bills cut him, whatever it was?
Yeah, you can have him hang out.
Where's he now? Is he still on the practice squad, by the way?
Yeah, he's on the 90-man
He's on the roster. He was on the practice squad at the end of last year.
Baby Gronk.
And they brought him back for less money.
Baby Gronk. What do you guys think about that Baby Gronk making the roster?
I have as good a chance of making the roster as Baby Gronk.
I actually want to set the over-under at 2.5 times he gets caught, signed to the practice squad, and cut again.
So, Matt, you think one of them will make the roster? One of the Twins?
And I kind of spoiled which one, but...
This is shocking. All right. Have we covered the defensive end?
We've not. Defensive
ends is a very important position for the Patriots. They've always had very good defensive ends of old. Richard Seymour being one of them. What do we think, Matt LePan, defensive end? Who's got it?
So right now my list I have sits at 5. I know that's too many, but again, if you want to talk about a guy for prime for the Foxborough flu, Dietrich Wise, guy who needs to put on a little bulk, maybe bump down inside next year, because Ely, Flowers, Ninkovich, and Rivers are making the roster hands down. But I don't think they're going to cut Wise, who they selected in the 4th round. I just don't see it. So technically, if you want to look at my official list I have here, he's on there. But he's a guy who, much like Longy, is probably prime for the Foxborough flu. He might even legitimately get hurt. He's a guy who has had injury history as well. So it's someone to keep an eye on. But yeah, I mean, Ely and Flowers, if you can line them up across from each other on first down, you have two guys who play the run well and get after the passer. We've seen what Tony Ely can be when he wants to be a dominant player. Everybody goes back to that Super Bowl. When he wants to play, he's a dominant player. When he doesn't want to play, when he wants to do his own thing, he's not going to see the field. And I don't think he'll be happy about that, but the Patriots showed it doesn't matter. If you don't fall in line with them, then they're going to ship you out to Cleveland. Ask Jamie Collins how that went.
Well, we've got the same guys. Ely, Rivers, Nink, and Wise. I don't know about. I'm concerned about Rob Ninkovich and his age. His contract is easy to get out of. I'm not saying he's not making the roster. I've got him making the roster. It's just if the team is in desperate need to make a cut somewhere else, and they like what they're getting out of some of these guys, I don't know. But I'm looking at Dietrich Wise kind of. I've got him on that strong side with Nick, and then I've got Ely, Flowers, and Rivers on that other side. Like I said, where I'd like to kick in Flowers and have Ely on that same side, and you've got a guy like Wise and Nick that can play that. Wise is almost 280. He's got arms the size of. They're massive, and they're long, and I think he could be that guy that allows Dante Hightower to come out, on that Sam edge rushing type of deal. Now, I'm not going to say he's Ty Warren, okay, but he's the guy that if you like you said, if you put a little bit of weight on, man, the build on this guy, he's an edge setter. I like him, but
but he's stiff and he stands up too straight. He needs a year before he's going to be an NFL player.
We'll see. I get awestruck when I see a guy with 94-inch arms like these guys. Legitimately, he's got like 36-inch arms.
Yeah, there's no doubt that he's built like an NFL player, but I think that his best role is going to be kind of like what you said, a Ty Warren guy, a guy who can rush from the outside, but he's going to play primarily inside. He needs time to put that weight on. He needs time to kind of loosen up a little bit. When you watch him run, he's very, very straight, very mechanical.
We hear he's bow-legged, right? He kind of runs weird, they said.
He runs a little weird, so I think that, you need a year to kind of mold him. The Patriots have some good coaches that can do that. I think, like I said, I have him on here right now. If I have to make a selection, yes, he's on their roster, but it's a guy that they need to put some time into.
Before we move on, real quick, Derek Rivers. If you had to put a percentage on his defensive snaps this year, I'm so excited to see this guy. What would you say?
It's pretty low.
40.
I loved the pick, but from where he's gonna have to come from to where he's gonna need to get, he's a guy who's gonna see. The first 8 weeks of the season, we might see him be a game day inactive once or twice. We might see him, play 5-6 plays one game, 15-20 the next. He's going to be a guy that's really a true situational pass rusher. You don't have him as much more of that this year, I don't think.
So is it 30% you think he'll play, or 40?
Call it 25. If I had to put up 25.
Okay.
I can get down with that.
Let's talk about the other side of the ball. Quarterback controversy now. Jimmy Garoppolo and Dana White are competing for the quarterback position, the backup quarterback position. As we know, Dana White, president of the UFC, says if ever Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather were to fight, he would be the backup quarterback for the New England Patriots. And I'm not name dropping, but I definitely DM'd him, and he thought it was funny that it all came about. So, let's talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, Jacoby Brissett. Do you think that 2 and 3 spot is essentially locked in, or do you think there's a potential of Jacoby Brissett getting a little distracted by the newfound fame? He's doing selfies. He thinks he's in the Hangover with Jimmy and Tom, and this is all awesome. potential possibility of a playing diminish. It's happened before. There was a running back of the New England Patriots who was on the front page of of a big, the magazine.
Jonas Gray.
Then look what happened to him. Do you think the third quarterback slot is sealed, locked in, or is it open for a veteran to sneak in there and take Jacoby Brissett's job? Brian Phillips, what do you think?
Nah, he's locked in. You've got to have that extra layer. They went out of their way last year, bringing him back, making them the IR designation to return, dressing him for the Super Bowl. Just the little things. Do I see him as the long-term backup behind whoever is going to be the quarterback next year or the year after? No. I think they draft a quarterback next year and bring him in for competition. But no, you need that guy, especially with Tom. You almost have to consider Tom's age. That as healthy as he's been, you have to act like he's going to get hurt. He's going to miss games, which means you automatically have to have a third string.
Signed, sealed, delivered. No question.
No questions at all.
Nope.
He's cheap.
DM Dana White, tell him wait till next year.
Colin Kaepernick wants to come play for the Patriots as a third string, learn the ropes.
Oh my God, could you imagine?
Would it be surprising for Belichick to do something like that?
Would be out of the question, no. I mean, they signed Tim Tebow.
They signed Tim Tebow, and they were looking at Rolando McClain. Remember that? They were looking at him.
I don't think they do it, but would I be...
And he's suspended now. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, Nick Saban and Bill, they talk. That's how it goes.
He threw him a favor.
Yeah, that guy was such a talent, man. It's a shame.
Running back position.
Quarterback's the easiest one to determine. Those three guys, there's no question about it.
So let's go with a little bit more challenging position. It's obviously a crowded backfield. We talked about this a few weeks ago with Walter Payton's son, Jared Payton. The running back position, it is so cluttered and jammed, and there's some. I think it's good problems to have. I think it takes the pressure off Tom. He's not going to be throwing as much, having a backfield this crowded, but you can only keep a certain amount of the running backs. Brian, let's go over who is your running back core, and then Matt, we'll have you follow.
Yeah, me and Matt aren't going to see eye to eye here either, because actually after the running backs, after we go over them, I'm pretty sure Matt's already at 53, because he's got 6, but I've got 5.
You can't break the rules, Matt.
Yeah, I may have sent you one that a list that wasn't updated with numbers.
That's a flag. I mean, that's a flag right there. If you put that on the field,
he's built in his Foxborough flu picks. Is what he's done, and he hasn't labeled them properly as Foxborough flu picks. But no, you're looking at. I've got it kind of split up between, your primary backs and your pass catching backs. Gillislee, Burkhead, Lewis, and then James White, DJ Foster. I got DJ Foster making this roster. I loved him last year. Who didn't? He had that shake and that shimmy in training camp. He flashed a little bit. He got a couple snaps last year and some meaningful action, but they went out of their way to keep him on the roster. He wasn't active every week, obviously, and he did get cut one time and brought back on the practice squad for a week, and then later in that week brought back to the roster again. But the guy continues to impress in passing camps. I think he's got that versatility. He's a wide receiver in college before being made converted to a running back. So I think they like him, and a little insurance behind James White couldn't hurt as far as that third down back role. Again, Dion Lewis has also shown a lot of signs. We've heard rumors that he's looking like 2015 Dion. That would be great, but you need insurance for James White and Dion Lewis in that passing back role, and I think he provides that.
Yeah, DJ Foster, like the guy, not going to be on the roster. There's too much other talent at passing back.
Why don't you go over your number 5 running back right now, Matt? Let's hear about him.
That Bolden. Number 5 running. No, I didn't send you the update one. Brandon Bolden's cut after the David Harris.
Oh.
I have White, Gillislee, Burkhead, Lewis, and James Devlin as my running back. So my number 5 is James Devlin.
Okay. All right.
So looking over, the reason I don't think Foster makes it is when you look at what the Patriots have been doing in these passing camps. With the number 1 offense, the ones out there, Rex Burkhead and Dion Lewis have been working as slot receivers. So this kind of pushes a guy like Amendola off the roster. When you get Burkhead out there and say you can get James White, Rex Burkhead on the field at the same time, you really create some matchup nightmares. Burkhead has shown he can catch the ball. He's a versatile guy, and he's already got a good little rapport going with Tom Brady, according to everybody who's been at camp. So, again, sorry for the non-updated one, but it's White, Gillislee, Burkhead, Lewis, and James Devlin. And Mike Gillislee, with James Devlin in front of him, is going to be deadly. He averaged 6 yards a carry without a fullback last year.
Does that mean you have Glenn as the fullback?
You get right out of here. And I have as good of a chance of making the roster as Glenn Gronkowski. But James Devlin, some people, he's going to be the guy that is like the sexy pick to get cut. The surprise cut. Here comes James Devlin. Josh McDaniels would throw a hissy fit. There's nobody that likes the fullback in the NFL more than Josh McDaniels. And a close second is Bill Belichick. He's on that roster. Brandon Bolden, yes. With the Harris signing, Brandon Bolden, out the door.
Yeah, Brandon Bolden's got to be gone.
Brandon Bolden is gone.
Gone.
Oh, yeah. As good as gone. He was gone when he signed. I can't. We've been over this. I still have nightmares of him of missing wheel routes and dropping 3rd and 5 catches wide open in the flats. I can't deal with it. Thanks, but no thanks.
He's going to Miami then, I guarantee you.
Yeah, have fun.
All the cast-offs from the running back position go to Miami at least once.
Yep.
Let's go with the tight end positions. Pretty easy, Gronk and then Dwayne Allen. The big question is, Matt LePan, who do you have for that number 3 spot at that tight end position?
Give me the twin.
Give me the twin, Jacob Hollister.
I think that he brings something a little different, and I'm going out on a limb here, and I'm going to look really dumb when he eventually does get cut. But I think he brings a different dynamic to your offense than a James O'Shaughnessy or Matt Langle. Those guys are as average gets. Give me a guy who has some athletic upside. Give me Jacob Hollister.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my no UDFAs, man. Not a single one is making this roster.
Wow.
It's going to be unsexy, but it's James O'Shaughnessy, man.
London Fletcher was undrafted. How dare you?
The Patriots have a long lineage of undrafted free agents, but this is the year.
Wow.
Just no room for him. I got James O'Shaughnessy in a tight battle with Matt Langle. Matt Langle's practice squad eligibility wins out. You can cut him and nobody's gonna care, and you'll be able to get stashed right away. But
you can cut all 3 and nobody's gonna care.
Well, exactly. But no, Hollister too flashy. No good.
What is your hurdle with undrafted players? Is it just in general, or this core of undrafted players you just don't like?
It's just this roster is this is the tightest 53-man roster cutdown we've had. I don't know if I've ever seen a roster that's going to be this already set going into training camp. There's just not a lot of room, and you're talking about a team that's, the window is clearly closing in New England, whether that be 2 years or 5 years, but, they're in win now mode. It's capitalize everything right now over the next couple of years. You're keeping veterans, in my opinion, Amendola, guys like that around, Ninkovich, guys like that around for one last run for another ring, and there's not much room on the 53-man roster.
And Walter Payton wouldn't get drafted in the 2017 draft.
So let me get this straight. If Walter Payton got reincarnated to Prime and knocked on your door,
cut off the roster.
He went to Illinois, where you live, and said, listen, let's go to Boston, let's go to Foxborough, I think I got a shot at the starting running back position for the New England Patriots. You'd probably say no, wouldn't you?
No, we talked about this. If Walter Payton was a prospect coming out of high school now, he'd be taking read option handoffs from Deshaun Watson in the title game last year. He wouldn't be going to, where did he go? Acorn, Mississippi.
He went to a small school.
It was in Mississippi.
He went to a small and bright school as bright as Matt's T-shirt tonight.
Well, and the bottom line is in the 70s, young black stars in Mississippi and Alabama and Tennessee didn't get recruited by SEC schools. It's terrible. Imagining how many guys in those conferences could have been on the national stage, but he still went number 4 overall back then. But he'd be like a first or second round pick coming out nowadays.
Let's go over the wide receiver. Let's go over the wide receiver depth chart, and then I want to see what Matt LePan will do for crab cakes. Wide receiver position seems like a crowded position. The big acquisition of Brandon Cooks, which to date, in my opinion, was the best acquisition you guys have made this offseason, especially. I think he's a game changer. We had Brandon on when he was a rookie. He came on our show extremely passionate, extremely. Philadelphia replaced Deshaun Jackson that year. And he went out of his way on our show and said, I will replace Deshaun Jackson and I will ball. And that's what Brandon Cooks is. He has a swag to him. It's kind of like Randy Moss, but a miniature version. Pardon the height, Joe. Talk about the wide receiver position, Matt LePan. What do you think about it?
Well, on my write-up, I have 7, but there's not 7. It's 5. Cooks, lock. Edelman, lock. Mitchell, lock. Hogan, lock. Slater, lock. Book it.
Austin Carr?
Not going to make it.
Wait, did I hear Danny Amendola in there?
You did not hear Danny Amendola.
Explain yourself.
I went over this with the Rex Burkhead thing.
Hold on. Danny Amendola's on your depth chart list.
I need a better explanation than Rex Burkhead takes Danny Amendola's spot.
Danny Amendola is a player who's done a lot for the Patriots. He's gotten overrated at the beginning, underrated as he's gone through. He's taken pay cut after pay cut. But at some point, you just kind of have to move on. And when you have as crowded a roster as you do, and you can have guys who are versatile enough to play running back and wide receiver in Burkhead and White and Lewis, in your guy DJ Foster, you move on from the aging veterans. He's not going to cost you a lot of money. You can cut him and really have it count as nothing. Yes, Tom Brady loves him. Yes, he trusts him. But are you going to cut a guy like Malcolm Mitchell? Are you going to cut some of these defenders that the Patriots have spent money on and want to bring in and build up this defense that's going to win them another title? Yes, Danny Amendola is a very good player. He's been pivotal in both championships. But in a roster squeeze, he gets left off. Cooks, Edelman, Mitchell, and Hogan. Those are 4 guys. They all, at this point, presumably have trust for them. We assume one does, and then, you really don't need. There's really not enough for more offensive weapons, and I would rather see a guy like Amendola gone than Mitchell have his role diminish.
I guarantee, and I can guarantee you, if Danny Amendola is released, he's a Buffalo Bill. I guarantee it. 100 we have been so active on Jeremy Maclin. We were so close, but the damn crab cakes killed it. And then when we lost out on Maclin, we're like, Decker, we gotta get Decker. Decker had 0 interest in coming to Buffalo. His wife's, as a country star, the Tennessee was perfect. Went to Tennessee. We are still extreme, despite the fact that Zay Jones is surprising a lot of people in training camp. That's all I'm getting.
Not me. Zay Jones is my boy. You can ask Zay Jones about me.
Zay Jones is not impressing you right now.
No, I love Zay Jones. Zay is my guy.
Man, Brian, what did I just say? I said if you could ask anybody, Zay Jones is impressing everybody at training camp. And the guy with the bright T-shirt goes, not me.
No, he was agreeing with you. He was like, no, man, yeah, you're right on.
Well, I thought he said not me.
No, I love Zay. He's not surprising me. This is exactly what he could have been. I think that you haven't even scratched the surface with him yet.
He's looking really good.
I think I'd like to see him with some pads on. That's what I'd like to see.
He was one of the best route runners in college football last year. He's the all-time league receptions guy in college football.
Yeah, we'll take
He's gonna be a beast.
NFL training camp, man.
Why don't you be happy for someone else for once, Brian Phillips?
Well,
Jeez, you're as bad as the last guy who was on here. The negativity, Jesus.
Hey, this is the problem. See, the whole argument, the whole tangent we've gone on here, it stems from Matt being wrong about Danny Amendola.
But can you give me potential? Can you give me something?
I'll give you
You've won how many Super Bowls and you can't give a Bills fan something? A little piece of candy? A little
I'm
candy?
doing this with my Lions buddies too.
Wow.
I always give them help. But,
I'm going to give you hell for having 2 football teams if you keep going. Don't ever tell me you're a Lions fan.
Oh, God, no.
I have no respect for people who have 2 football teams. I will go on a rant. We'll be banned off YouTube with my language because you can't have 2 football teams. I went through 4 straight Super Bowls and 15 years of humiliation in the public school system because I was a Buffalo Bills fan. I had a teacher.
Do you think it's worse to be a Lions fan or a Bills fan?
I had a teacher.
Have gotten so close
you
and
guys have been.
And you didn't get it, or you literally have gotten nothing.
You guys still have the Thanksgiving games. We don't have anything like that.
Don't say you guys.
You guys have the Thanksgiving games. We have fans throwing the dildos on the field. Okay? So you better feel worse bad for us. So let's go to the offensive tackle position.
Don't direct this to me.
If you tell me you're a Lions fan, we're gonna have a new co-host next week, Matt LePan.
I don't think
You can't have 2 teams. You can't have 2 teams. You can't.
No. I agree with you.
It's totally against the law to have 2 teams. It's a slap in the face of the teams who have bled and died and bled and cried their team. Oh, it's okay. I'm a Redskins fan. Get the hell out of here. And offensive tackle is a position that's pivotal to protect Tom Brady. Let's go with Brian Phillips. Let's talk about the offensive tackle position. How does your depth chart look? And then the Matt LePan will go over it.
Yeah, my offensive tackle position goes as such. Shoulder, Garcia, and then I've got McDermott being the last man cut with Fleming backing up Marcus Cannon for keeping 4 tackles.
Matt, what do you got?
The reason I'm keeping 4 tackles is because Danny Amendola is making the roster because they wouldn't give him 1.6 or 1.7 million guaranteed on this 3rd pay cut if they had planned on cutting him. So, yeah, that's where I go with my tackle spot.
Okay, well, you got the 4 right. You got the last guy wrong. They just drafted McDermott. Cam Fleming has proven time and time again that he is not an NFL tackle. You put him as a blocking tight end against Von Miller, and Von Miller just went by Marcus Cannon, and destroyed your quarterback and cost you 3. Cam Fleming is a guy who he's a genius, literally a genius, but he's just not an NFL tackle. And I go with the upside of McDermott, a guy who's big, strong. You can mold him into a tackle.
Slow, terrible feet.
Okay, so how is that different than Cam Fleming?
Cam Fleming was serviceable.
How is he serviceable? How is he serviceable?
Last year in Arizona, he was serviceable with Martellus Bennett chipping on every single defensive end. I'll give you that.
Okay, that's not serviceable. If you have
but we're also talking about a 6th-round pick now. Let's not go over the top crazy about it. We both agree Adrian Waddle's gone, right?
Oh God, yeah. Mr. Inactive.
Well, so you and I both. I think if we're looking at the numbers, I don't have your depth chart in front of me, but do we have 8 total offensive linemen? We only have 4 interiors each, which is 2 less than what they've done every year the last 3 years. They've brought 10 out of camp the last 3 years. I know your stance on it is they're a dime a dozen in the middle, but if we had to take a ninth guy and another interior guy outside, because we both have your alter ego Ted Karras as our primary backup interior guy, who's another guy you like?
Oh man, that's tough because the Patriots really they didn't stack the inside. I think they more or less. I'd see Fleming making the roster more than I would see another interior guy making the roster.
Okay.
I don't think there's any talent on that interior outside of those 4.
I think if I had to pick one, right? If I had to pick one coming out of camp, I guess I'll go with James Ferentz, just because he's boys with my guy Mark Denuzafix from Iowa. He's small, but he's got NFL experience. He's won a ring with Denver. He's literally not just on the practice squad. Huh? Well, yeah, exactly. He's a Ferentz, man. Yeah, everybody talks about how small he is, but he plays center. That means you could have Karras as a backup at either guard. You wouldn't have to rely on Karras as a center, and if should anything happen to Andrews. But yeah, Danny Amendola's making the roster.
All right. Now we're gonna wrap this on this question, crab cakes. My confession is I've never had a crab cake before in my life. I don't eat the seafood. I don't do any of that. I know.
What?
And Jeremy Macklin just signed a big deal, and he got a lifetime supply of crab cakes. And Matt LePan tweeted something about crab cakes, unfortunately. This is one of the best times ever for him to be frozen right now. There he is. He's back now. And I tweeted a very popular crab cake, a company, Illegal Seafoods. And they responded.
We'll shut about.
Legal Seafoods. Let's shout out to Legal Seafoods. I gotta lay this down. What would you do, Matt LePan, for a year's supply of crab cakes? Are you willing? I know, lifetime, okay. What would it take for you to get a tattoo of their logo on your arm?
No, I'm a dad now. I can't be doing that.
Would it be lifetime?
No, a tattoo on my arm, no.
How about on your ass or something where no one sees it?
I mean,
That's pretty easy, man.
That's great advertising.
Can I transfer the crab cakes for a house? Because my wife would divorce me if I got illegal seafood tattoos.
Can we do a tramp stamp? That'd be, I guarantee you, if I go to Legal Seafoods, who's probably watching this, and I say, listen, Matt LePan would do a Facebook Live tattooing on our Patriots Central Radio page, he would get a tramp stamp tattoo of your logo.
It should be our Harvey Lange bet, is what it should be. It should be a Harvey Lange bet.
Tattoo. Henna, that way it'll go away at some point.
You gotta give them something back if you're getting a year, like a lifetime supply.
If they come up with something good, I will give it serious consideration.
A lifetime supply of crab cakes for a tramp stamp of their logo. Every time you go to the beach, think of the advertising they're gonna get. Every time you pro wrestle, every time you wrestle and do body slams and leg drops, the seafood logo flashes, free advertising. Think about it.
All
right. I'm going to end it on that note. Matt LePan.
I'm open to a lot of things. But.
Matt LePan, we're going to have a big debate next week. We're going to go over the Mount Rushmore of the New England Patriots. We're going to go over the top, of all time, who's on there, who doesn't belong to be on there, and hopefully we'll get a spirit debate. I want to thank everyone for listening. Brian Phillips, please tell the world where to find you and what new articles you have on that awesome website you write for that I'm spacing on right now.
Pat's Pulpit.
Pat's Pulpit! Pat'sPulpit.com. Shout out to Pat'sPulpit.com. I like you, Pat'sPulpit.com.
SB Nation, you can find me at bphillips_pp, Pat's Pulpit. Just had a couple articles out this week talking about guys potentially could bring in.
Tease it. Throw that dildo on the field and tease people. Let's go.
A former Lion that you might not expect. But no, and then of course I released an article today talking about a Justin Coleman trade for Michael Kendricks from the Eagles, and then David Harris was signed. So we'll have some more stuff in the works coming up towards the end of the week. Probably, I've probably got to write a piece now about how Tom Brady's contract is not the best value contract in the NFL. In fact, it's Dak Prescott's. But yeah, so that's where you can find me at bphillips_pp.
Matt LePan, editor of ProFootballCentral.com. The big question remains is was David Harris a flea market choice because Gerald Hodges signed with the Bills? Matt LePan.
I'd take Hodges. He was pretty good, but I think Harris is a better fit here for what he's gonna bring.
If the two of them were lined up side by side, you would definitely go Gerald Hodges. Don't start this debate. We're wrapping the show.
Can we pump the brakes on Gerald Hodges?
Well, the Patriots wanted to pump them.
Tell me he's not more athletic than David Harris.
Somebody more athletic than David Harris 10 years ago, or David Harris now?
He's probably more athletic, yeah.
Yeah, athletically I would take him, but for what he would do for the team, I would take Harris.
Yeah, give me Harris, man. Again, I think Harris's athletic ability for his age is being underrated. So it's just more loveliness.
Hodges for your team, Brian Arrington, for your Bills, is a good fit. I think that he's a guy who's going to bring some toughness to their defense.
All right, Matt. What is Panda cooking in the kitchen right now for some new articles and everything going on? And let the world know where to follow you on Twitter and where to throw those dildos out on Periscope.
Well, it's at Matt_Lapan, LAPAN, on Twitter. Come up with ideas on how I can get free crab cakes for life that doesn't involve a tattoo, and I'll take you out on a crab cake date if it ends up working.
My festival, August 12th, we're going to have a food truck place called McCrary Seafood. They're in Rhode Island, and they have clam cakes and crab cakes and everything, and apparently it's legit.
Amazing.
It's legit.
Shout out to Odie's Place Animal Rescue, Brian Harrington.
August 12th, Buttonwood Park, Odie Palooza 2. We just signed the Guitar Bear. Who knows who the Guitar Bear is? Anybody knows? I know the viewers know. The Guitar Bear is always at the MBTA train station, is always at Faneuil Hall. He has a suit on and a bear. He just got beat up, and we're going to bring him to the festival. We're going to show him some love in New Bedford, New Beige, and he's going to perform for everybody, and it's going to be pretty awesome. So next week we are probably, as my dogs are finally waking up to wrap the show, perfect timing, we are going to have a guest on. We are going to work on that, and more importantly, tweet Patriots Central Twitter account. Matt LePan's poll was very popular. Thank everyone for tuning in to Patriots Central Radio, and we'll see you all next week.